Welcome, guys, to another episode of Clarified Moments, where we are bringing another level of clarity to your consciousness, to your perspective, to your view, to your world. Let's just go on and get into it. The election, it's crazy. And actually, the election had me want to touch on something. I was listening to a commentator talk about it, and I think Joe Biden, who gave his little slick acceptance speech, touched on it too. But the commentator was talking about unity, right? He was talking about how we need to come together. We are so divided, black and white, rich and poor, red and blue, left and right, culture. And a lot of people are singing this same song right now. Some of it is disingenuous, by the way, but some really mean what they're saying. Some people really they really mean what they're saying. They really are promoting unity. I mean, they really mean well. They have good intentions, but as you know what they say about good intentions, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. But anyway, so back to those that are disingenuous, right? I find it funny how you can say this in one breath, but spend all your time pointing out differences. You talk about unity, but then you spend all your time in pointing out differences. It's weird, but so let's bring some clarity, some certainty, some truth to this conversation. Division and separation. So that's what I titled the video, Division and Separation. So let's ask the question, is it good or is it okay? Is it cool to be divided or separated right now? So let's look at the Webster's definition of them both first and foremost. So division is defined as the act or process of dividing, the state of being divided. Separation is defined as the act or process of separating, the state of being separated. So to divide and to separate, obviously these two are one and the same from a cosmetic standpoint. Now let's look at it from another perspective. Let's look at it from a biblical perspective. The Bible clearly teaches that children of God are to be separate from the world. Don't be yoked up together with unbelievers. For what do righteousness has with wickedness and, all that stuff, what they have in common? Or what fellowship can light have with darkness? So it clearly talks about being separated or being divided. It also says what agreement is there between the temple of God and idols. So there's another example of being separated or being divided. Therefore, come out from them and be separate, says the Lord. Definitively separation. God talks about division and separation throughout the word. In fact, separatism is implied in the very word church, which comes from the Greek word, let me make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly, ecclesia, meaning called out assembly. So it's clearly defined. The Torah talks about it, saying there are times that we should separate from our neighbors and times we should reach out. So it's clearly defined in these religious perspectives. But it's these trigger words in today's society that kind of piggyback off of separation and division. They are used to lull us to sleep, to get us gassed up. Words like equality, equity, racism, judging are just a few. In fact, we are all equal in God's sight. We all fall short. We all are guilty, and we all deserve death. We're all required to separate ourselves from the culture of the world. It's not about separating us from others simply because of color, race, and creed, which is what they like to talk about. It's the energy of the day. It's anti-discrimination. It's that anti-discrimination energy. But this portion of clarity comes to teach us that there are things that we have to distance ourselves from or separate ourselves from and have a clear divide if we want to become a part of the calling according to purpose. Again, I'm talking from a spiritual standpoint. Obviously from a spiritual standpoint, this doesn't require no contact, but we're never told to avoid our neighbors. Indeed, we're taught that make sure that there's opportunity, that the door is open for all who wish to join us in our quest to reach our full potential, to live according to the calling, according to purpose. So the door is always open. So this separation that we talk about, it involves the decision to separate concerning your ties or to others based off belief, culture, and practices. So here's a perfect example. If I told you to go link up with someone who's racist, who's advocating or supporting it, obviously right now that's a no-go. No one in their right mind right now will be leaning in that direction. But if I say go link up with somebody who's trapping, who's advocating or supporting it, majority of folks would either be cool with it or they'll make excuses about it. So that's a distinct difference. See, these are two different extremes, two different extreme culture belief systems that are both detrimental to society. In one instance, we're told to accept, tolerate, don't divide or separate from the possibility of redemption in one belief. And then in the other one, we're told to completely separate ourselves from it, don't tolerate it, eliminate all possibility of redemption. That's a contradiction, folks. Two different ideas, two different cultures, two different destructive mindsets. If I believe you have the ability to be more than the sum total of your external attributes, your skin color, your upbringing, your finances, your wealth, your social status, your popularity. If I believe that you have the ability to be more than those things, that don't mean I'm judging you. We just disagree in perspectives. You might subscribe to those things and it brings identity and value to you, but I don't. My point is that this division, this separation that we always are talking about, according to God, there should be. Not based off, of course, color, race, or creed, but off culture. We've got to separate that. And I'm talking about the culture of the kingdom, the culture of the world. And although if I judge you, that don't mean it's prohibitive or restricted from a biblical standpoint. If I disagree with your lifestyle and I speak out against it, am I judging you? Maybe so. But there's a big misinterpretation of the act of judgment. I know people like to quote Matthew chapter 7 and all that, judge not lest not ye be judged, but it doesn't mean that I can't judge you. It just means that I have to be careful, because the same measure that I'm judging you is going to be, that same measure is going to be added unto me. So what should my position be? Or what should the position of the person who's being judged be? Much less perceived to be judged, which is the case most times. What should they do? I can't count how many times my view or someone else's view was perceived to be judgmental, when in reality, they're just holding true to their core beliefs, which happen to be different than someone else's, and it's labeled judgment. It's a big misinterpretation, guys. So what should your response be? It's certainly not calling that person out, becoming offended, attacking that person, and those things that we have a tendency to do. That shouldn't be your response. We ought to be separate. If it doesn't line up with the culture of the kingdom, and separation doesn't equate to judgment. Just because I choose to separate myself from that belief system doesn't mean I'm judging you. I want to put emphasis on that. And I think society's been trending in this direction for quite some time now. Even with the election, where a lot of people are using the dividing lines of culture to intimidate others into acceptance. Like, listen, bro, I think that's wrong. You judging. Or I can't rock with that. You judging. Or this is my favorite one. That behavior I'm not cool with. You racist. What? Like, it's the upside down perspective. Acceptance of somebody else's destructive behavior or their defiance of their desired growth potential doesn't necessarily mean somebody's racist. It just means that they can't condone or co-sign or agree with what you got going on. So here's the $1 million question or questions. And you guys comment in or response in the comment section below to let me know what you think about these questions. Are you a part of a culture that equates acceptance with silence? And is it fair? Is it fair to equate the two? Does somebody have to be silent about what they believe if it makes you uncomfortable? Does the culture of your everyday life line up with the culture of your design potential? The ability to be the very best version of you. Does it line up with the culture of the kingdom? Remember, we're going to stay separated, guys, and divided unless we're united in the culture of the kingdom. We're going to stay separated. You guys take care. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. Appreciate you guys for joining in. Take care.